So we're just circulating blue sheets, and as we're doing, we're looking for a Jabber scribe. If anybody can use Jabber, that would be good. Whoa, thank you. So for those of you in audio land, Magnus Westerland's going to describe on Jabber.
Okay, this is TSVWG, the Transport Area Working Group. There are now three of us up here. I'm David Black, guy in the green sweater here is Gory Fairhurst, and Wes Eddy has joined us up here. More about that in a few slides. This is the note well. Please read it. It applies to you. It applies to anything said or presented in this session. Let's see, I believe we have a note taker and a scribe.
Who's the note taker?
Wes, I think, is going to take notes, right? If somebody else can we get somebody else to volunteer to take notes? We have a second set in case we miss one.
Oh, Vincent.
I'm sorry, who?
Vincent Rocca.
Vincent Rocca will also. Thank you very much, Vincent. Quick reminder: if you put TSVWG as the second element in as a third element in your draft name, the chairs are more likely to take note of it and figure out whether we ought to do something about it in the working group. Okay, we have a third working group chair up here. Welcome, Wes. Thank you very much. Long IETF background, including a former transport AD. He apparently misses being responsible, or didn't have the good sense to step back when we called for volunteers. I'm not sure which, but thank you very much, Wes. All right, document review request. Standing reminder, document quality relies on reviews, and you'll hear some requests for docs that we need reviews on during this session and Thursday's session. Please review docs here and at least one other document from the working group. If you want documents that you care about reviewed, please do likewise and review documents. Okay, on to the news. We have four RFCs published since IETF 97 in Seoul. Network Transport Circuit Breakers, which is 8084, UDP Usage Guidelines, 8085, which replaces RFC 5405, GRE and UDP 8086, which is a work example of UDP encapsulation, so it's a little bit more important than just another way to run GRE, and Diff Server Interconnection, which is RFC 8100. Your two chairs who have been here a while have been very, very busy. I'm shepherd of three drafts, author of author of the fourth. Gory is author of two, shepherd for one, and the source of the crucial insight that enabled the fourth one to actually get done at all. So if you wonder why not much else has happened since Seoul, we've been kind of busy making sure these happened. There are still 200 drafts in RFC InterQ, Diff Server and WebRTC QoS, details and cap of SCTP. They're both waiting for the SCTP iData draft, which is on the next page. We don't have any IDs in IETF last call or post IETF last call processing yet. 3 IDs have completed working group last call. They're waiting various work group chair and author follow-up. Tunnel congestion feedback is mine. I talked to Xingpeng yesterday and apologized for the fact that I should have paid attention to new versions submitted in January, and it's now March, and I still need to pay attention to it. I believe that one's done, but I just have to check that it responds appropriately to working group last call comments. SCTP iData chunk. Gory, I think you're the shepherd for that one.
What did you say? You said, I've talked to the authors, they've revised the draft, and I believe that one's nearly done. I just need to make sure I read it carefully.
Okay, so with a little luck, these two drafts will move up to at least the first position on this slide and perhaps further before the next IETF. Diff serve to IEEE 802.11 mapping. I've talked to Fred Baker, who's one of the authors here. We're going to have some work to do on this one. There were significant issues raised against the draft. I will be following up with Fred and the other author, Tim, offline. There's a very good chance this one's going to need a second working group last call as significant. Basically, the mappings in this draft are fine. It's everything else that we had some problems starting with security. Okay, the ECN experimentation draft is likely to go to working group last call soon. And then we have 5 more drafts in the working group. Diff serve lower effort per hop behavior, ECN encapsulation guidelines, ECN encapsulation guidelines for tunnels that use shim headers, SCTP NAT draft, and SCTP errata and issues draft. All right. 3 related drafts that may be of interest to folks TSVWG, congestion control for 4G and 5G mobile, the int area tunnels draft, with which int area has been having a fun time recently, and encapsulation considerations draft in RTGWG from the design team. All right, so TSVWG agenda. We're going to show you the agenda in a minute. We've gone through the note well. We've done document accomplishment to status. Milestones review is coming up in the next slide. Drafts. And then Thursday, we'll come back with note well, maybe a few notes from your chairs, and more drafts. The longer session is on Thursday. Okay, milestone review. Here's the eye chart. Okay, we've been sufficiently busy getting those 4 RFCs out that we've had 3 drafts that are now behind on milestones. The first 2, tunnel congestion feedback and SCTP new data chunk. The best guess between Gory and myself is that we'll get the publication requests for those submitted in April next month. We just have to review them. The best guess is both are ready to go. The 802.11 draft, second diff survey 802.11 mapping draft. Best guess on that is September. We think in second working group last call is likely major revisions. So we're going to push that out to September with hope to get it done sooner. SCTP NAT draft. No, that's not getting submitted to the IESG next month. Exercise in very wishful thinking. December is a more realistic date based on talking to the author, who among other things is going to be working on making sure the SCTP new data chunk, the IData draft, moves. We're going to talk about the milestone for lower effort PHB draft as part of the discussion of that draft. The main milestone is not necessarily unrealistic. We need to have a bigger scope discussion about deployability, transition, and things like that. And when we see how the discussion goes, we'll have a better idea what milestone to assign to that one. The experimentation draft needs a new milestone. Also wearing the hat of author of that draft, I'm going to suggest June. We will need to work with last call it shortly, and by the time we're done with that, revising it, it may be June before we realize what's happened to us. The congestion notification draft, which is back up here in April, and the property and congestion notification across IP tunnel headers separated by shim draft. We bundled the congestion notification encapsulation draft, moved to September. On the other hand, we have no milestone for encouraging draft authors to use shorter draft titles. And the SCTP errata and issues draft, September still seems like a good time frame for that. This is a heads up on milestones. And in essence, we've got 2 drafts we're likely to be sending on to RFC publication fairly shortly after this meeting. We need to talk about the LEPHB draft, hope to get explicit congestion notification experimentation draft, also moving along to RFC publication before the next meeting in Prague. Any questions or comments on this one? All right. We have 3 IDs that are calling for working group adoption. We discussed these in Seoul, and I think the direction is to adopt them. Wes will be talking a bit to these. These will come up in the session on Thursday. TSVWG is the venue that is intended for work on these drafts, and we'll pick these up on Thursday.
You may even like to add them to your reading list before Thursday so we can talk about them.
All right, agenda review. We're actually in the middle of item 1, although you've just seen item 2, which is we've talked through the summary of the 4 drafts with working charter milestones. We will pick up the LEPHB draft under item 3. This is the rest of Monday's agenda. These 4 drafts: ECN experimentation, the lower effort per hop behavior, and the 2 ECN tunnel encapsulation drafts. Everything else is Thursday. The chairs up front and the TCM PM chairs have been talking about what to do with the RTO consider draft. I will say no more other than we hope to have something intelligent and coherent and roughly in line, and hopefully that we'll get consensus to say on Thursday. 3 SCTP drafts, the most important of which is SCTP end date of the first one, which we hope to publish shortly. NACT translation support, which is what Michael Tuxon's going to be working on after we get the first one done. And somehow we got from 2 to 4. RC 4960 eroding issues. Individual drafts for Thursday. Joe Touch has a draft UDP option we talked about. Michael Tuxon has a draft on some more considerations for UDP and cap SCTP as is being used by WebRTC. Vincent has a couple of drafts on the forward error correction framework. And then we have the L4S drafts, which will be the Bob Briscoe and Wes Eddy show.
And finally, we have Ingemar's presentation.
And finally, we have, yes, sitting down under item 7, Ingemar Johansson asked for I believe that's a congestion control presentation?
Well, focusing on the ACK stream that's generated at high rates and its relationship to cellular networks. So it's a discussion document to get going, well, a discussion slide presentation.
Okay. Anybody want to bash the agenda? Going once, going twice, consider it bashed. We may do it again at the start of the session on Thursday. Okay. So, one more thing, sorry. For all speakers, and it looks like I'm up first, we have this standing reminder. There's a pink box on the floor. You're supposed to stand in it, and this is what happens if you don't.
You get mobbed by women.
Look, these women.
That's what you got? Okay.
I'll step into the pink box, and that means I'm now standing here as the author of the experimentation draft. This draft was adopted by the working group after some discussion. There were a few comments during adoption. Picked one from Karen Nielsen. The -01 version of it reflects that comment. I know of nothing else needs to be done to this draft, so I think it's basically ready for working group last call.
Does anybody have any comments on the ECN enabling draft?
Yeah. This is mostly a process draft designed to remove a few requirements in the base ECN RFC 3168 that are getting in the way of some experiments we want to run.
Okay, David, last time around we had quite a lot of discussion about this. So I'd just like a show of hands of people who've read the ECN document from this working group so that we can know who's read it. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6
Yeah, of course,
going up.
Of course I've read it.
Oh, you've read it as well. Okay, so we have some people read it. Okay, then when you next revise it, let's take that to a working group last call if there's no further issues emerge.
I believe -01, which is a currently posted version, ready for work group last call now, unless somebody says something now or sends something to the mailing list that requires another version.
Anybody got any comments? Good. I like comments.
So I'm just dropped in and I assume you talk about the first thing, right?
We're talking about the ECN document to revise the use of the ECT code points.
And I reviewed the document and I believe I sent some comments somewhere. Not sure if I sent it to the mailing list or to you, whatever. But my high level comment was that the document very much reads like, we do this because we want to do this experiment. And I think that's wrong. What we should say is, we do this because it's the right thing to do. And by the way, this opens up some experiment space. I don't think it's about the content. It's really about the wording a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a PS, and I guess the document should last and be seen as inspiring in future times when we're not just enabling something, it's actually part of the spec. So is that what you're saying? You change the wording so it actually states what we really want to do?
No.
Rather than the intention of enabling the experiments. As you know, we want to make these changes because it's the right thing to do, and by the way, that allows these experiments afterwards.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Let me work with you offline on wording. The draft is guilty as charged, and for the most part, I left the technical rationale for the experiments to the underlying experiment draft. And it sounds like we need to pull in just enough of technical rationale to explain why these changes ought to be made in principle. I'll try to work. I'll try to work wording with you offline.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is basically you should even talk less about the experiments and more about the general rationales behind that.
Okay.
Okay. So as I said, we'll do a new revision then, and then we'll ask the working group for comments.
Okay.
Thank you, Mira.
No problem.
All right. Now what?
Now what?
Next level of excitement.
Hang on a minute. I have the slides. I'll put them up. You can talk about them.
Ah, yeah, that's good. Hello, hello.
This is a clicker if you want it.
No. Hello. Okay. No, I'm overfaced by it. I'm Gory Fairhurst. I'm not Roland Blessed, but I'm going to talk on behalf of Roland. Is Roland online? Yes. Good. Roland can ask questions at the end then, or answer them even. This is about the lower effort per hop behavior. Oh, hold the mic. I was going to do that at the beginning. This is about the lower effort per hop behavior. The per hop behavior that we're going to define that will enable scavenger class or a lower priority service through the internet. And we're going to talk about the code point in DSCP land. So forward, please. The goal of this is to obsolete the recommendations on use of CS1 for this class. And we've done a number of updates from 00 to 01, largely a result of feedback from the working group. One of the things we added was the requirement that congestion control should be used with the PHP, so that a scavenger class application actually has a congestion control appropriate to that. And that's really useful if the DSCP doesn't survive the path or you don't receive the per hop behavior you expect. So that's a good transport recommendation, I think. And Rudiger Geib also made suggestions about what to do about the dropping precedence for the scavenger class traffic. And that wording has been revised, so there's no shoulds indicating its relation to other DSCPs. Yep. 2119 language was added in various places, and it brings us back to the recommendations in section 5. We don't recommend DSCP bleaching. That's where you reset the diffcert code point to 0. But there's two different semantics for LE, what to do, whether to remark it to BE as okay, or whether to only transmit it if the PHP is supported. And we could use two DSCPs. That might be useful. That's not currently in the draft. There are a number of things here the working group can make comments on. We'll come later to which DSCPs we might think are best for this service. But Maybe we want more than one. That's a possibility. The current suggestion is just to use one. Let's go. Next slide. DS domain that uses DSCP CS1 for marking LE traffic is doing something that's kind of odd because CS1 is actually higher than CS0, but that was incorporated into a RFC some time ago in 4594, largely as a result of Internet 2 experience, when they just wanted a code point that worked, and they chose one that worked. That's got a certain number of problems, not least the fact that when you go via a TOS enabled router that uses the old TOS marking semantics, it can remove the top 3 bits, zeroing those, and we end up with a very strange code point. So to get all this right, the text has changed, but yeah, read section 6 on explicitly what's changed with respect to 4594. Okay, and then we have some comments from David Black first. We need better distinction between networks in general and networks with full support of LE. We probably have work to do. This is not a document that's finished. It's a document that needs people to read it. The must remark requirement needs to be discussed in section 5, and I guess David will discuss this.
Yeah, I think what we'll probably do is, if you're going to bring up your slides from MapRG or something like it later, let's do it in that context. So this is actually a transition concern. It's fairly easy to put musts on new usage. This is must on deployed running code, which is a little interesting.
Yeah. Okay. And more, whatever we do, we've got to get the IANA considerations correct, and all these things will be incorporated into the next version. What's the next slide? Oh, a discussion of ECN in combination with LE has been suggested. That could be an interesting one to run. I don't think we currently have any text on this. So should any LE traffic be dropped prior to ECN marks for any other PHP? Something the working group might have an opinion on. And should LE be able to support ECN or not? How does the less than best effort, lower effort class actually interact with ECN marks? Different people have different opinions. That's been discussed on the list, but nothing really has come out of that. So that's something that still needs to be talked about. And then there's a choice of which DSCP to use for this new class. We need a DSCP to mark the traffic. There were 2 proposals originally. Proposal number 1 was use DSCP4. Proposal number 2 was use DSCP2. And of these 2, DSCP2 won the beauty contest, but still has problems. One good thing about DSCP2 is it's allocated from the pool ending with 0, which is an IANA allocated pool for standards action drafts. So when this becomes RFC, IANA can make that allocation. It shouldn't be bleached by a TOS bleacher, because a TOS bleacher that removes or zeros the first 3 bits of the code point will make these 3 bits 0 when they already were 0, and therefore the code point survives. So it's got good survivability. And is there a better choice? Well, there may be, because this bleaching that I mentioned causes other problems to other traffic, which means that other DSCPs currently get remarked to the value 2 as they pass through the internet. This is kind of a little bit of a nightmare, and for me at least it means something good to measure. So I'm going to talk in MapRG about some measurements we've done to try and start off figuring out what happens when you use DSCP2. Does it get through? I can tell you immediately the answer is yes. Do you receive other traffic with DSCP2 apart from the ones which tried to set it? The answer is yes, and an awful lot of traffic if you go through the current internet. So we need to think about this, and the big discussion here is, do we pick a different code point to 2?
Right. Another one that I think is in MapRG presentation is, does DSCP2 get bleached to all zeros? The answer is about 80-90% no, but more than 10% yes, which is enough to pay attention.
Yeah, which is why you really need to have a congestion controller running with this traffic class, the class of traffic. Okay, I think that's the debate, and probably the MapRG presentation should go ahead before we do something, David. What do you want to do now?
Comments welcome. MapRG presentations, very important. My sort of general reaction to all this is, first of all, kudos to Gory and his students for doing this. Actual measurements of running code. Wow.
And one of the issues here is, does the IETF now design something to work in the real internet, or do we just pretend that code point 2 hasn't been allocated and therefore isn't used? That last one is the real tricky question. Go on, Matt.
I would like to suggest the solution that I would propose it would be to assume that 2 is the right answer and then try and inventory the amount of harm that's going to happen from things that aren't compatible with that. I'm sorry, I didn't see that this draft was on the agenda, or I would have read it, because this is something that this is actually one of the things I think is a huge missed opportunity for the IETF. And one of the things that would buy us a huge amount of additional capacity. We have all of these things in our pockets, which are often using prime data to update when they should be updating at 3 in the morning. And the total load just on that, especially in the Southern Hemisphere, is massive. And doing it right would make a huge difference. One minor technical question, which I wasn't paying attention to and I would have read, is there a spec that the passive open loops back the bit, the marking?
Oh, that would be lovely. How are we going to do that? For TCP, we could do it. And for you, yes, I'm interested in that, but the spec doesn't have a way of doing it.
So that one sentence seems to be out of scope on everybody's document, and that one sentence is very important.
Although it's still a little bit tricky with DSTP, because just because you mark it as 2 and it gets there as 2 doesn't mean anybody actually treated it in the way that 2 is meant to be treated.
I understand. That's one of the we're deploying in the real world, but the fact is you have to start somewhere. This is a multi-party deployment.
Yep.
And the particular concern is, for instance, for uploading software. If I touch the installer, I want it to do it in the foreground. If it runs on a timer at 3 in the morning, I want to do it in the background. And so the application is the only thing that has a scope for knowing how that bit should be set.
Yeah. Are either the TCPM chairs here? Michael? Scharf? No. Okay, because Matt, my reaction to that question is, if by passive open we mean TCP passive open, that's going to wind up as a TCPM topic. If we mean whatever quick is going to do, it's going to wind up there. I suppose
the language is different, but the semantics are the same. The point is, if you're a server and the client connects to you, you want to echo whatever you thought the client said.
Yeah. On the other hand, I'm hard put to recommend a whole RFC for one sentence, even though I've seen them.
So this sentence has no scope, and the other one sentence that doesn't have any scope that is very similar is, if you're doing TCP, you should really turn on don't fragment. That sentence is also missing everywhere.
I have no idea what to do about DF, but the ECN sentences could be carried in this draft. We just have to make sure that those 2 working groups had a good hard look at it at working group last call time.
I think it could, but I'm not sure that's necessarily the right thing to do in this draft. It might be the right thing to do, though, in the IETF.
Mia Kulevan. I mean, actually, you should know better than I do, but I mean, the measurements you did, where you were just using traceroute, and if you would get back ICMP, you have the information you've been asking for. Unfortunately, ICMP doesn't work very well, but that's what you actually want.
Yeah. True. Okay, so any other questions on this draft?
I will comment as an individual that I share Matt's preferred approach to this, which is 2 feels like a good enough answer. Although I'm not gonna say it's got to be that. But figure out what we think the right answer is and work towards it. For example, we might want to invoke the diff serve architecture and basically say, if you're going to use this, then you've got to do the traffic conditioning at all the edges of the network, as opposed to just ship and pray.
And as neither the chair nor the representing the author, I like diffserve core 0.5, which presents you with a little IANA allocation question. But when you see my talk in MapRG, you'll discover it works amazingly well.
Cool.
So we need, okay, back answer chair now, so I can have 3 goes at this. Read this draft, because we've talked about scavenger for a long time. We should have written this draft like 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Well, Matt's older than me. Okay, we should have written this draft quite some considerable time ago. Something's changed significantly, and people are really deploying networks that can carry DSCPs through them. There's a lot of work to get that fully deployed. Now's a good opportunity to actually write this draft and get it out there. So please comment, please discuss it on the mailing list.
And pending discussion in MapRG, we need to sort of hold a finger to the wind that's not blowing this room and figure out what the right milestone date is. I'm pretty sure, based on discussion for right now, the current May milestone date for this is wonderfully premature. I'm inclined to go for September, in the hope that another meeting cycle will help sort out a lot of what's going on here.
Okay, we can have more measurement data at Prague for certain.
And I doubt we're going to have a resounding conclusion of exactly what to do coming out of this week. All right, let's try September. Maybe we can get it done. Maybe we can get it done faster than that. Let's try September. Okay. I see Bob Briscoe in MeetEcho, I think. Next up, I believe, is okay. Who's speaking for the these 2 in-cap drafts?
John will.
Okay.
On the first anyway.
Cool. Excellent. So while John's coming to the mic, the intent of the working group chairs is to. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. I don't think I have the slides, John. So we're probably gonna need to plug you in. Are they in there?
We're in the tracker.
In the tracker. Okay. So I didn't. All right. Let me.
The slides are there, but
All right. I need to go get them then. Hang on a minute here.
While David's getting things set up, this document's been around for a while, so we will hear an update on it, and it's one of a pair of documents, so we'll consider its progress with respect to that. But have we got the slides?
Working on it.
Yeah. Okay. This is where you find the slides. They're here, and you click on this, and
so this is the ECN and CAT guidelines. I think Bob just told version 8. Get closer to the mic. Is it better? No. Better? No.
Straight out your mouth.
Okay.
Eat the mic. Sorry.
All right. So this is the ECN and CAT guidelines. Version 8 was stored this morning. And just to go over this has been ready since July 2016. The main purpose of the draft was to catch systemic ECN layering problems. And this work has been liaised with IEEE and 3GPP and has got positive responses. All of this has been updated in the draft. The latest updates, I think, were with relation to the protocols GU and Geneve, and also a whole bunch of other protocols, Trill, VXLAN, and so on. I mean, basically, the mechanisms of feed forward and up and feed up and forward, they've all been outlined and completed in this draft. The last set of comments, I think, that were addressed, one was about a must or a should that's been addressed in the draft. And lastly, it's the RFC 6040 update shim that has some dependencies to this that needs to be worked on. That's what Gauri was referring to. So going to the next page. Yeah, I think I got that draft wrong. It's not the Trill draft, but it's the RFC 6040 shim that should be there. That has some dependencies on it. And the question is, should both proceed to the working group last call together, or can this be handled separately? That's the question.
Oh, I see. Okay, so my preference, and I believe I'm the shepherd for these, has been to working group last call to pair, because they're fundamentally about the same class of ECN mechanism in two different contexts, and I prefer simply to last call them as a pair. That way we can get them consistent. If I understand what you just said correctly, nothing's waiting on the main ECN and CAP guidelines draft. The one thing we have waiting is waiting on 6040 shim draft, and so that's the thing that would unlog jam everything. So comments working group are more than welcome. Somebody wants to see one of these move faster. Right now I'm inclined just to call them as a package, so that we get these two together, and people who are thinking about this look at both at the same time.
Does anyone in the working group want to progress this particular draft faster than the other? Would you like to say? Okay, I have one other observation. This particular draft that John presented here hasn't really changed. The last update is simply to replace references with newer references. So if we had reviewers for this draft, we could get the reviews in early against this draft prior to the working group last call together. Does anybody wish to volunteer to review this for an early review? Okay.
We can ask.
Is anybody? Oh, man over here.
Yes. And where's the red button?
The red button is here.
Push the red button. I think that lets Bob speak. We'll see if this works.
Well, that'll be exciting.
Hi.
Bob?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify that actually the statement on your slides, John, was also correct in that the Trill draft is approaching working group last call, and it does depend on ECN NCAP.
But does it also depend on 6040 update shim?
No.
All right.
Okay. The working group chairs will talk to the Trill chairs, and good things will happen, but we will need more than one reviewer for this draft as we go forward. So please, somebody else volunteer to review this.
Don Eastlake.
Thank you. Great. So we have a couple of reviewers. If you're reviewing this, please review this current version. That will be helpful to the working group. And if we end up finally postponing the working group last call to do the two together, we'll accept those reviews at that time as well as being done. Is there anything else we can add, Bob?
No, I'm fine.
Does Bob want to talk about shim?
Thank you.
Thank you. Bob, did you want to say anything about the ECN and CAP draft on shims?
Not really much to say. I just didn't get around to updating it. There's some to-do bits in it which have basically just got to give specific text that updates each of the other PSs. you know, at the moment it just says a general statement of how they should be updated, and I was asked to give specific text, and I haven't done that.
Do you have any TA for that?
Yeah, I think I promised it by May or something like that. There was an email I sent about it. But I can't remember whether I'm being consistent saying the same date again.
Just tell us the truth.
May.
May. Okay. Okay. Anybody got any comments on the SHIM draft?
All right.
Okay.
I think we're probably done for today. Where are the blue sheets?
Ah.
I don't like meeting in closets.